This is King 5 Mornings.
There we go. Good morning.
Some of you may be familiar with the recent civil lawsuit filed against Seattle Mayor Ed Murray, alleging he sexually abused a teenager over 30 years ago. Just this week, a fourth man who's in the King County Jail accused Mayor Murray of paying him for sex. And also this week, the judge in the case ordered sanctions against the lead attorney representing the plaintiff.
So here to talk more about this case is Jennifer Cannon-Unone. I'm sorry, I practiced that so much. A trial attorney here in Seattle and partner at the law firm of Dixon and Cannon. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
We really appreciate this perspective that you have, because you don't have a dog in the fight, but you can kind of, add perspective to what's going on.
Sure. And this is kind of an unusual situation because you have a case where you have an adult that has filed a lawsuit, a civil lawsuit, that is alleging sexual abuse that happened over 30 years ago.
Yeah, so criminally it's past the statute of limitations, but civilly it's okay?
Interesting question about the statute of limitations. So there is always going to be a limitation on the amount of time that a person can file a suit. So in Washington State, typically it's 3 years on a negligent case, but it's totally different when you talk about child sex abuse. So in this case, you have an adult who is alleging sexual abuse that happened over 30 years ago. So what he has to establish is that somehow in the last 3 years, he began to acknowledge and recognize that the acts which occurred over 30 years ago were actually injured him.
Okay, let's talk about the sanctions that a judge recently ordered. What does that mean and what happens?
Sure. So think of a sanction as a fine. And in this case, the judge fined the lead plaintiff attorney in the case $5,000. This rarely happens. Judges don't like to do this. This judge doesn't like to do it. We have codes of ethical conduct that we have to abide by. We are officers of the court. And here, the issue is we are not allowed to file pleadings in court for an improper purpose. And so the judge ruled that the plaintiff attorney in this case was filing pleadings for the improper purpose of getting his client's story out there in the press. An example is a letter that he filed in court where he accused the opposing counsel of having a reputation for vitriol and saying that the world will read his words.
So you need to basically wrangle people in and have them on a level playing field.
That's exactly what the judge is doing here. She has an interest in wanting there to be a fair trial, and she wants to stop a lot of the press coverage that's going on.
Do you think it's possible to get a fair trial here?
Really interesting question. The trial itself is actually not set until April of next year. The mayor has said he believes that this is politically motivated. This is an incident that happened over 30 years ago. Why is it happening now? But if the press coverage calms down and there's less coverage in that respect, then potentially an interesting add-on to that question is, so there's, as you have reported, there's 3 other people that have accused the mayor of similar wrongdoing. Well, so is that information, is that evidence going to be in front of the jury in the trial? Well, it's out in the press, but it's a question whether or not the judge is going to allow that information, and it's going to be a fight.
Wow.
And it's not going to be done before the election is here?
No, it's not.
All right.
Jennifer, thank you so much. We really appreciate your perspective for our viewers today. All right, so what are we doing next? Are we going to break?
Sorry
about that. That's my fault again.
No, that's okay. We'll check in a little bit.
Okay.